Okay, guys. First of all, for the people who decided to watch this at 10 a.m., we failed, but we're here now. So I'm here with Steen. We've already recorded the podcast together, so great to have you back. And I'm here with Simon Vreeman. Simon, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a freelance growth marketer for a little over a year now, and before that I used to work in-house at Vermove, NextWeb, and others.
Also doing a lot of digital analytics, besides other marketing aspects, right?
Yep.
So, Simon, you and I were both at MeasureCamp London. You attended my talk about Google Analytics 4, Fight, Flight or Freeze. Steen and I have already talked about this topic as well, and you were also very outspoken about it. So I figured it's a good invitation to get you on here. So at MeasureCamp London last week, the main topic I think was Google Analytics 4. Well, Google Analytics, but number 4 is the future, and how will we be able to use it in the EU? Now, Steen, I know you've been showing around with Google in the last couple of weeks. You had an event with Google, I think, a co-hosted event.
Yeah, so we had an event on Wednesday in Copenhagen talking about Google Analytics 4, especially for the new GA360 as well. What the implications are there. But there was also a session from Google in relations to the roadmap and what they're doing right now.
Okay.
And we have another session on Tuesday in Oslo. So
I think it's fair to say that you're still betting on Google being relevant in the EU for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So for us, I think we had this conversation before saying Google Analytics is the best alternative to Google Analytics. I don't see anything else out there that can compete and offer the same opportunities. Technology-wise, it's like, yes, you could probably move platform. We had that conversation, but getting it set up, and then knowing that you're actually changing to something that is not of the same quality. So it's like, this is my 7-second pitch. Google Analytics 4 is the next generation of analytics. If you just change vendor, it's like saying, no, I'm not really betting on data in the future. I'm just going to stay here where it's comfortable and take a step to the side instead of a step forward.
Yeah.
So I'm all fight, I guess.
Your fight, fight. Yeah. So we have the ability to fight, right? So we have the ability to change our implementation. Let's say to make it as privacy friendly as possible, right? And then I would argue that we put our fate in the hands of others, right? Like we're unaware how that will end. We're unaware of how that will. It's not up to us. Somebody else is going to decide on that. So how do you explain it? How do you?
So I think for me it's very much about saying. So if you have the basis, saying you need an analytics system, and what you can. So you can either try to, if you look at the technology, the core thing is saying that Google Analytics 4 is trying to push the boundaries. They're changing the setup. They're becoming much more compliant. Yeah. And all the verdicts and stuff has been going around Universal Analytics and not Google Analytics 4. Yeah. So with Google Analytics 4, they're actually pushing the agenda to become much more compliant. Yeah. Right? And so on top of that, what are the alternatives? I don't see any good alternatives out there you can build your own. We talked about that. That's for most too ambitious.
Yeah. Right? Any thoughts on this, Simon?
Well, I recall especially someone mentioning when you presented your framework basically, and that really was a key learning for me in that sense. Like, you as an organization have to stay flexible to choose and move around in those 4 options that you have. And I think that is the key takeaway for the upcoming future. And that's, of course, this is true now for analytics and privacy, etc. But this is true for just running a business in general, I would say. Yeah. But yeah, you need to take your stakeholders with you and explaining like, okay, we're gonna make a decision now, but be aware that we might change this in the upcoming months, years, etc. And I think that is the more important than, or to teach each other than, to choose something. So I think that flexibility is really important. And yeah, I also see that I would also still stick with Google Analytics. Like you, I don't really see any good alternatives. Maybe for pure analytics, pure data crunching, but then I think one of the beautiful thing of GA is that it integrates so well with other stuff. Google Ads, of course, being maybe number one, but also with lots of CRM, lots of you name it, integrates so well. So I think that's for SMBs to enterprises, that's just a huge benefit.
Completely, and I think that touched upon one of the key points, saying trying to make it as flexible for the future, is making sure that you can say, okay, cool, this is as compliant as I can be, but I can actually change this setup so I get some level of continuity in the data. Yeah.
So we have an additional guest in the show. Hi, Petri. How are you doing?
Hi, good.
So we've been talking out here on MeasureCamp already a little bit about this, but you've recently also spoken at an event or hosted an event where this was a big topic of discussion, right?
Yeah, it was an event organized by Business Finland, and there was more than 200 signups. We were streaming the event for mostly for e-commerce businesses in Finland. Yeah, and yes, I talked about the cookies, GDPR, GA4, and so on.
And what was the consensus there? Like there were 200 e-commerce players, let's say. Like what were they? What were they thinking?
It was hard to say because we were streaming, so didn't get the live audience. Yeah. But anyway, my main message was that calm down. Breathe, relax. You don't have to do, any big decision right now. Yeah. And let's see what happens with the transatlantic data transfer agreement. Are we going to see a new version during this year or early next year? Yeah. And will there be a Schrems 3? Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's much bigger issue than just GA. And if we take a couple of steps back, I have talked with several lawyers, and we are kind of agreeing that GDPR it's definitely not perfect. So I think that we should we should develop GDPR. It doesn't make sense in some points, like IP addresses are personal information, because it's not a fact. You cannot bulletproofly track someone personally with the IP addresses, and I think we should have GDPR and second version definitely.
You know what the status is for the e-privacy? That's basically version 2, right? But I don't know what the status is.
Yeah, I think the e-privacy directive already was there before GDPR actually, but it's like, I think, so what I hear you say is like the technology and the law don't match. Right?
Yeah, they don't, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think we've heard this before. We've also talked about this before, and I think so. I think most of us here are on the agency side, let's call it, right? So we advise clients. But should we? So the law is not perfect, but no law is perfect, right? The law is usually behind what is actually going on in the real world. Should we advise clients to wait and see, or to not worry, or should we move them towards being more privacy, take privacy more seriously, basically?
So what we do is we try to focus on the intent of the law and not the word of the law, because the word of the law is is well, flawed, but trying to the extent that we can help people become doing this privacy by design, going in and taking people's privacy into account and focus around that. Maybe not in the strictest GDPR, bring in a lawyer and he'll spank me sense, but why did they make this law? How can I meet the users in a private way where they get control of some stuff, but I can still do business? Because I think, for me, one of the things I took out of the Austrian government or the Austrian legislation system just came out with comments to the verdict. One of the things they said that, well, they had made no commercial considerations about their verdict.
They said that's not our job.
It is not their job, exactly. But it is somebody's job saying, okay, cool, so the entire European Union can no longer be using any software as a service or cloud service from a US-owned company.
Yeah.
That is a...
Yeah, that's also, Simon, a comment you made in London, right, last week?
Yeah, I think that if everything goes through and we follow what is being said, then all European companies are fucked. But at the same time, if you have a little bit of money, now invest in building cloud infrastructures in the EU. But it's just not feasible for the near future. So,
and it's not even just the cloud structure, right? It's also what is the best European-based spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's on so many different levels. Basically, your whole marketing stack, you can basically then throw it away and start from scratch again. And it's just, is the EU or any country really going to let that happen? Because the impact on economics is just far too big, in my opinion.
So and you can.
But that's the same on a smaller level. But like, how far should a company be GDPR compliant? Because you can make an argument that it's going to hurt your business. If you just but the other way around is like, you need to be a little bit show that you are willing to change, because there's also a branding aspect of it. So I think those are like two balls you have to keep in the air and find the right balance between what is good for your brand. Like, okay, I need to grow, so I'm not going to be fully compliant, but at the same time I want to show that I want to, because if a consumer sees that you're not giving a shit about my privacy, then
and this reflection part of it is also saying, so who has a phone that is not running on a US-based operation system?
Yeah.
So we will cancel our phones at the same time.
No.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with IP addresses. It doesn't matter if there is GA. The internet works through IP addresses. Yeah. So what we are going to do from privacy perspective, let's shut down the internet. Then we don't have the IP addresses anymore.
We'll have the European internet that we can visit, and then there will be an American version, like Netflix. So you have a VPN, so you can cheat and look at the American internet.
Yeah. But that is a worry of some people, right? Yeah. Some people worry like we're going into the direction of a walled off European internet, so to say. And I don't think netto it would not. Right now, it wouldn't be good for the EU. Like, it might spark that we get some more, like we get our own Silicon Valley, let's say, right? In theory, that could happen, but it would, first of all, it would take some time. And it's a big leap of faith believing that will happen, right? That we will basically rebuild all the tools that we now use that are of American soil and rebuild that in the EU.
But even the biggest startups or scale-ups, like take Spotify, bears their whole infrastructure completely on Google.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not certain that my kids will be glad that they have to stop playing Minecraft.
I think Minecraft you can host on your own server, so they might be good on that one.
But none of the chat stuff, right? So
This is sort of a tough, very tough. We are in a global economy, and we cannot make sort of rules to work as world is going around. You know? And that's a tough one.
And can I ask you guys, like, from not as a marketer, not as an agency person, but as a personal human being, right? You have way more knowledge about how data is being used than others. Now, of course, there's a lot of scary news out there that's meant to scare people that doesn't make sense. But we do know that with enough data, people could know a lot about you that you might not want them to know about you. Like in theory, I'm not saying companies are doing it, but in theory, I could see a future where a totalitarian owner of a state can commandeer all that data and make a profile on all of us, right?
Well, look now what is happening in the US with that they're now basically saying to women, stop using the period apps.
Yeah.
How do you call it? But because the data might get sold, and
they don't want, like for the abortion.
Like we're now sort of focusing a lot on the Googles and the Facebooks of this world. But I, in my opinion, which is of course logical, there's far more other companies out there that nobody has ever heard of that do far more shady things than ever imagined.
But so let's take that as a fact, right? We know that there's shady stuff going on with data, retargeting people on things that we shouldn't want to be retargeted on, and maybe even more. So do you think the GDPR is a good thing, yes or no? Let's start with that question for you.
Yes, it's a good thing. Yeah. But like I said, that it needs to be tuned up a bit.
Yeah. We need GDPR 2.0.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically also because if you look at it in the bigger picture, the pendulum of the gathering and everything kind of peaked around Cambridge Analytica, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the worst case scenario of how much data could be abused.
Yeah.
So and this is kind of flipping the bar the complete opposite direction, saying, okay, cool, if that's what you're going to do with data, you can have nothing.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like kids puking because they had have too much candy, and now they'll never have candy again.
Yeah. But all four, we agree that GDPR in essence is a good thing.
Yes. Is a good thing. Yes.
So and then
in essence is also good. What also happened because of Cambridge Analytica is that now we as European citizens in this case are now being far more. We know what data is, what privacy is, how it can be used and abused, and I think that we are educating European citizens about what effects data can have. I think that is a good thing, and now it's up to companies and like brand side agency tooling to figure out. Okay, we need to find a balance in.
Yeah.
We see a lot of companies that they have sort of like consent banners and consent management in place, but we also see that they are not integrated with GTM. So basically, they are not really working. So of course, we are there to help them, so that if you give consent or you don't give consent, so that actually works. It's not just a visual banner which doesn't sync with, for example, GTM or other tag management.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting angle on that is saying that is the marketeers, and in this case Google, because they are in the open field and naked, is actually taking an active role in that and saying, if what was it, 2 weeks ago they announced that if you do not have a active consent mode going on, or not consent mode but a consent pop-up, then you could be they would disqualify your AdWords account. So they would block you from marketing because you were not compliant. Yeah. So actually taking that step as well, going in and taking ownership of on the data. Yeah. And I think it's because they're in a hard place. They need to show that they believe in the intent of the law as well and support it.
Yeah, and that's what we all now need to do as companies, and show that we care. And but I still find it sometimes struggling that we as marketers, we need to be GDPR compliant, but then if you look, you walk into a company and you see that on the fridge there's still a huge birthday calendar. You're saying officially, according to GDPR, that is illegal. Like you can't show birthdays on in public. So,
but do you remember those printed phone books?
Yeah. But times change, right? So and I think the issue is with the internet, we have such a powerful tool. Like we all know that because we've been working in this industry for a reason. We understand that it's a super powerful tool, but but the downside is that it can also be used for bad, and I think that's where the underlying thought of the GDPR, spawned off from.
And that's also, I think also then moving back towards us marketeers, and then we are now complaining, we don't have a lot of data. But at the same time, I think if we are being very honest to each other or to ourselves, did we really use all the data before, and did we really doing those personalized ads or this personalized online experiences? Were we really doing that?
Yeah. So we're having a little bit of loss aversion right now for something that we might not actually use.
Is that like one of the classic phases right now? First denial and then anger and then going through the different and ending up with acceptance. Saying, cool, if this is what we have, then that's what we have.
Yeah. And we can do perfect marketing with what we have.
Yeah. And so switching to that topic, maybe Simon, on your end, you're more on the marketing side perhaps than the rest of us. Like Google is going to switch to something called topics, right? They move away from individual user tracking, and they'll classify people into buckets, like you like race car driving and beer drinking or something like that, right? And make it really generic, but specified enough to show a relevant ad, but not privacy invasive. As a marketeer, what are your thoughts on that approach?
Yeah, so again, it feels like we're sort of having less data, but the other way around is like is it really that different than doing marketing outside of the internet? Like then you still you basically go, if you want to advertise in magazines, it's basically the same way. Or doing commercials on TV. It's just you look at audiences. So you look at I want to have my commercial around this TV program. It makes total sense in the same of going into topics or those buckets.
I have said to clients that now we are taking maybe one step back, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. No. You have to think about your target groups, what media channels they are using. You have to think about your message. That's number one point. And so we cannot do at least the same way all the things we did, but there are some new data players and vendors coming up, and the technology will be maybe a little bit different. But, I think the first point is that really think about your message and where the target groups are moving.
So I have two more questions for you guys. One about this topic and then one about MeasureCamp. But about this topic, client walks in, is like freaking out because they just read about Universal Analytics going away. I need to go to GA4, but now I read all these scary things about GA4. What are your first steps? What are your first steps to walk that client through? What are your first questions?
My questions would actually be like, what did you read? What like, can I sort of we're actually reading the right material?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that might also be good because there are far enough people who are just also now playing this game, scare people. So you definitely need to calm them down, and then again, I would probably prefer moving into the business side of things, like how much are you going to lose or risk if you're really doing something differently, or if you're actually going to be using GA4, like what is the actual risk for you as a company? Is it really that the authorities will step on your door and knock on your door and say you can't use it, or like what is the risk?
I think from my perspective, it would be kind of switching the conversation, saying, okay, cool. How little data do you actually need? And then building on from there, saying, okay, let's meet you saying Google Analytics 4 is not illegal. It's still the best tool out there to serve most needs, but let's still focus on privacy by design. So how far can we take it so we minimize the risk for you of getting slapped over the fingers with this? And then basically telling the story of saying, this is a gray zone everywhere. Nobody has been, no GA4 setup has been pointed out anywhere of being illegal. So what is the process that will happen? Yeah, right now it would be testing. Somebody would come, and worst case scenario somebody will come and ask for access to your GA4 saying, okay, we need to check if you're compliant. And then they would check if we're compliant, and then message back would be saying, okay, you're not compliant, you have a certain amount of time to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like somebody standing outside the door with a fine ready to slap on your face.
Yeah.
This is a process, and everybody's learning right now. So if you are ready to, you have set something up to focus on privacy by design, you have taken the users into consideration, and you understand that it's not a fight or flight situation. There's no car coming down the road. It's maybe a car. You will get a call that the car is coming.
Yeah.
So you have time to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say hold on a while. Let's look at your current implementation. Let's look at the content management you are having now. What kind of data you have now. And let's then think about the options. And probably moving to GA4 is now a good idea for every universal analytics client. So that would be the first step here. Like Krista said, that we need to have it implemented before 1st of July this year to have a yearly comparison. Data available. So then of course it's always a good idea to have a plan B.
Yeah.
What if somebody tells that GA or GA4 is illegal, you cannot use it anymore? What do we do then? We have the options ready, sort of. We don't have to make quick decisions then. We have plan B.
Yeah. Yeah.
But plan B could even be just a simple thing. I know Mark Edmondson just launched a script. Lat Flax for Ovox have launched the same script about streaming analytics data directly into BigQuery.
Yeah.
So it's not going anywhere except BigQuery, where it's actually stored, and then you can
then it's in your
build
own
it from
ownership.
there. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, guys. I want to ask you one question about MeasureCamp. I know you're a 5-time MeasureCamp Amsterdam visitor, or no?
This is fourth. I probably missed the first one.
Okay. So people watching this who've never been to MeasureCamp, why do they have to go to MeasureCamp? What makes MeasureCamp special?
Well, it's the people. Honestly, I think it's meeting your peers on a relaxed level. It's not having the ambition of coming to hear some special speakers speak, but actually coming and meet other people in the industry on the same level. So you can go to big conferences. There will be big speakers. Some of them might also be here. You don't know, but when you come here, it's really about meeting the people at the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come from Finland to here and to Copenhagen as well. I could say that I like to travel and just to get away from home. I've been quite a lot at the home office lately for some reason. So but I definitely agree. It's about people. People make this event and all the content, and I really like the main fact that no hard selling. We are all peers, and we are ready to share information and our experience to others.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing that for some reason 150 people showed up on a Saturday to a conference without knowing what they're going to see or meet because there's no schedule. But all of a sudden people are willing to spend the whole day.
But this is really addictive. You come here once,
you're addicted.
So
this is a warning for everybody listening. It's a warning. If you come here once, you're addicted. But it's definitely worth it.
And this has nothing to do that we are right now in Amsterdam.
No. And I think so with MeasureCamp, it's not just the first one that's free. It's all of them.
Yeah. That's great. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. And we'll talk later today.
Thanks for having us. Cool.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.